Hello, Craig.
Hello, Colin.
We are again talking about Star Trek, and last week, Craig, we talked about Star Trek 2009, and this week it's only fitting that we talk about its sequel, which came out in 2013, very stupidly named Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, right off the bat, as you could probably guess, we did not really like this movie. One could say that I kind of hated it, but dare I say that I think I might find 2009 more dumber than this movie.
Maybe we'll revisit this idea at the end of the review.
Well, I only say that because 2009, the villain was more dumb than these villains, because there's two villains in this movie. And yes, we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that doesn't make sense. And right off the bat in the movie, they are directly violating the Prime Directive for whatever reason. I don't know why they decided to do that. And there's this
It was
great...
to save that species.
Well, I understand that at surface level, right? But as Pike Lear describes, they barely invented the wheel.
Right after a civilization that's barely invented the wheel.
So why even bother? There's an episode of TNG in season 2 called Pen Pals, where Data is unintentionally kind of communicating with this little girl on a doomed planet, kind of. And he already violated the Prime Directive at that point. So then Picard's kind of like, well, what can we do now that since we already violated it? And they end up saving the girl, but that's more of like a moral ethical issue that they found themselves in. This is just a primitive planet that barely invented the wheel. There's no reason to save it. It's a natural progression of the planet.
Also, is that volcano going to wipe out the entire planet or just that particular village?
Right.
Because it looks like they're just wiping out that one particular village. And I've got to assume there's other villages around that aren't being wiped out by that volcano.
Right.
Do you think they thought about this?
No, not at all. They didn't think about it all because it's incredibly stupid to park the Enterprise into the ocean when it'd be easier to park it out of orbit, which is what they almost always do in TOS and TNG.
I can't think of a single time where they intentionally brought the Enterprise.
They never do that because they don't want to be seen.
Wasn't there one episode in TOS where they brought the Enterprise into low orbit? But still, like you said, it's extremely rare.
I think they did that as I think it might have been that Greek mythology episode, Craig, where they fired a warning shot or something. I know they did fire one time a warning shot.
No. When they brought the ship down, I think it was when they went back in time and saved that pilot, and they were going to just kill him, or he was supposed to die, but they realized that he had to survive because he had some descendants.
Oh, yes, that's in season 1, yes.
I think that was the only time
we talked about that episode, actually. I was criticizing Star Trek 4's time travel, how they said, well, since we destroyed his craft, we have to get him back onto that naval base and wipe his memory of all this.
Yes, but I think I haven't seen, there's so many episodes I tend to forget, but
yeah,
I think
blur them. I do the same thing, too.
Well, and Craig, also,
yeah, you go.
To mention, there's a joke in Futurama, which I know you have not seen, but I made you watch the Star Trek episode.
You did.
And when I directed Star Trek V, I got a magnificent performance out of me because I respected me so much.
But there's a joke where they took their Planet Express ship deep into the trenches of the ocean and they made the joke, like, it's a spaceship. How many atmospheres of pressure can it withstand? It goes, well, it's a spaceship, usually between 0 to 1. It's not supposed to be in any pressure.
Yeah, it's so monumentally silly to put the Enterprise in the water when they literally never do that. So since we started off with the negative, Craig, which is the beginning, do you have any positives before we start talking about the rest of the movie and its plot?
Yes, there was one positive, or I have two.
Yes.
I do like the theme. And the other one.
The score?
The main theme. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Michael Giacchino is a reliable composer for these films.
I will admit, I'll more so the Beyond one I'll listen to, but because at least that's a better movie. The other positive, which has absolutely nothing to do with the movie at all whatsoever.
Yes.
But I like when we're in Admiral Marcus's office and you see the progression of the Enterprise ships, like what Archer, I think Picard have.
Yeah.
Where you have, I think they show the Phoenix, forget the other ships, I don't know their names, because you see them in the opening of the Enterprise show. Then you see the NX-01, and then I forget the other ships.
And then you see the bully ship.
I mean, if for a secret ship, why would you have a model of it in your office?
Very silly.
I like seeing the NX-01, I like seeing the Phoenix.
I'll add to your list of positives. Again, as I said in the 2009 one, the cast, in terms of acting, they are well casted and they are good, but they are not playing good characters. It's exactly what I said for 2009, and I'll stand by that again. Kirk and Spock have no reason to be friends in this movie. They're constantly kind of at each other's throats. Spock has no reason to be emotional when Kirk is dying. He has no reason to care, honestly.
They've been serving together for, what, a year or two?
Yeah, if that, right? And Of course, because this is a JJ Abrams film. I mean, well, that's a negative. I'm trying to think of other positives. I think this is a positive and a negative. It flows pretty fast, which doesn't really fit for a Star Trek kind of idea, but this isn't really Star Trek. This is more akin to a Fast and Furious kind of movie.
Yeah,
It's just
and
like this
Star Wars.
breakneck speed. Never gives you time to breathe or even kind of think about how stupid some of the things that are happening in the movie are.
Did you wonder?
That's JJ's MO, though. He's very good at that.
I'm starting to think. Do you think he knows he's a bad writer slash director?
Well, he
so
didn't write
purposely...
this.
Okay, but he hires the goons who writes this.
He did, yeah.
So do you think he knows he's bad at his job and wants to have these breakneck paces to distract the fact that, ooh, shiny lights, ooh, okay, let's move on to the next scene. Ooh, these guys are running around. It's really intense.
Knowing him, I think he's not aware of that. I think he's under the impression that he is telling a good story. And his fast pace is kind of his style, which on surface level, that's not a bad style to have. It's just the story you're telling makes no sense. Now, if he's doing a Mission Impossible, people like his Mission Impossible 3. I have not seen it. I refuse to watch it. People say that's good, and that kind of fits that style. It's Tom Cruise running around in stunts. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's perfect, but not for a Star Trek. So yeah, I think the cast is good. They're well casted, but they don't play good characters. Visually, it's an appealing movie, much like the first one. And that's about it. The sound design's pretty cool, too. I will give them that. When the bully ship is in warp and attacking the Enterprise, it makes a cool sound. Now, Craig, let's get to the negatives. Or do you want to talk about the plot first and then the negatives?
Well,
Probably the
I mean,
negatives.
we're going to cover the whole plot because it's a whole mess, the movie, but we were talking about the opening scene violating the prime directive, the ships in the ocean, which is, of course, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it couldn't have been in space. They wouldn't have seen it, but it's just hard not to talk about. The cold fusion device is a...
That's not how it works, right?
Cold fusion is
It's
just
like
doing
an oxymoron.
fusion. Cold fusion is a fusion device not at extremely high temperatures or pressures. It's supposed to be fusion at a low temperature.
Oh, I thought it was hot.
No, fusion usually is hot, but the whole point of cold fusion is to do it at a much lower temperature. It's not an ice bomb.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not the end of the world. It's just another dumb thing that these writers don't really care, understand what they're talking about.
Well, I think we talked about this in our 2009 review, Craig, where I said usually sci-fi has to, at least sci-fi and I was about to say Star Wars, sci-fi and Star Trek has to make sense, and it has to be at least true enough. They can't be making up laws and other stuff like that. It has to be at least grounded in some kind of reality where the science makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say?
I know some of it's outdated because they had ideas of how people traveled in space in the 60s, and I don't think there's no dilithium chambers to create the energy, but it's enough where, okay, they obviously have they said antimatter engine, high energy output. The basics of, I think, make enough sense for people to go, okay, whatever, dilithium, whatever. It's a very powerful engine.
Yeah, but
Fast and light travel, having a special warp fuel that like warp space to get you to move fast. The basics of that makes sense, not cold fusion and all this bad guy stuff, super blood.
yeah. Well, that opens up a whole can of worms.
Yeah, we'll cover that later. But I wanted to mention, because I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, and it got a chuckle out of me when they have the bombastic opening, the running around, screaming, yelling, it's actiony.
Yeah.
And they have a hard cut to the couple visiting their dying child in the hospital.
Yeah.
It just
Big
like,
contrast.
was so out of left field. It's like, wow, we're riding and screaming. Isn't this exciting? Oh man, I have to visit our child in the hospital. This is horrible.
Well,
even in the future, we can't cure these diseases.
The running and screaming again, and I understand that this is supposed to be the young Enterprise crew, but their running and screaming just screams to me that they're incompetent, that they didn't have a plan really. They just ran down and they're like Han Solo. Oh, I don't know. Indiana Jones said that. I'm just making it up as I go. It's like that kind of character type, but that doesn't fit Captain Kirk. He's very methodical. He's smart. He plans things out. He has a backup plan. He would never do that kind of mission anyway.
Well, yeah, and they would, again, prime directive, saving one village. Usually when they have these kinds of ethical issues, it's a whole planet, not some village. Not to be callous, but that's usually why they do these things. Saving a few billion people versus 20 people throwing spears at them.
In that episode of TNG, they were sentient people that, I shouldn't say sentient, there were people that were at least had an intelligence. She could communicate directly with Data. So there's that level of intelligence. This primitive group didn't even have the wheel, or they barely built it. Yes, it's callous, but that's Starfleet has regulations, and this movie screams to me that Captain Kirk in these two films so far gets rewarded for blatantly ignoring the Starfleet regulations.
I just saw this, but what was the purpose of them even being in that area? He said it was to save the people, but
No. They're doing a geological survey.
okay, yeah, that's something like why was he there? So it was a survey that he decided to let's just go.
Yeah, let's just save this planet or whatever, this group. Let's just do it.
It doesn't make any sense how they messed up so badly. So what was the purpose of even Kirk and McCoy running around?
I don't know. Because then Kirk stole that thing that they were worshiping.
But if the whole point was to get Sulu, Spock, and Uhura in the shuttlecraft into the volcano, which they hid from the smoke of the volcano, why were Kirk and Bones running around?
It makes no sense. I don't know. Were they trying to distract them for the shuttlecraft to get over there? That would make no sense because
they couldn't see them.
If they were in space, they could fly down in another angle to the volcano.
Maybe they could just beam them down by the volcano, throw the thing in there.
The real point that they were trying to convey is that Kirk stuck his neck out and was trying to save Spock, but Spock didn't care and he backstabs him. I get that, but then when he started off with something that just violates how many kind of rules that were in TOS, TNG, core rules of Star Trek, it lets you know off the bat this isn't Star Trek. This is Mission Impossible Into Darkness.
Well, and to understand Kirk being mad at Spock, he broke, like you said, he broke so many rules to get there where it's hard to sympathize with.
I didn't feel bad for Kirk at all when he got reprimanded and demoted.
I mean, it was his mission that put Spock in danger in the first place.
Good, you should be. What are you doing? Again, Kirk was never really this reckless until Star Trek 3 and 4.
And it was, of course, the most important person in his life. No, not David, Spock.
Yeah. All right, Craig, what else do you not like?
I mean, for the sake of brevity, not saying every single thing in the movie, I guess this is the movie that started their obsession with Section 31.
Well, Section 31, to my knowledge, was created in Deep Space Nine, correct? But they were kind of a group that was in contrast or in direct conflict with Bashir, Julian Bashir, correct?
No.
No, I'm wrong.
No, so they were a secret charter under the original Starfleet or whatever Federation. No, I think it was Starfleet charter. That they were the secret group that a lot of Starfleet members would look the other way to kind of do some dirty stuff that Starfleet can keep their hands clean. And again, it wasn't this widespread that tons of people worked on. It was a very small group that would do very particular things to keep the Federation safe. It was a bit of not an open secret, but some people higher ups are aware of it, but they didn't know enough about it. They didn't know who worked for them. They didn't know where their base was. They didn't have a base because they didn't want anybody to track them and find them. They didn't have archives building ships and stuff. They were very, very, very secret and kept their tracks or covered their tracks extremely well.
So they were created for Deep Space Nine, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And he recruited Bashir to do some missions for him.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And there's some episodes of him where the main guy gets captured and stuff, but it was a thing that's used very sparingly. It was also in the Enterprise show. Again, also used very sparingly. Then, of course, Inner Darkness and then Discovery. And then
Can we talk about how silly of a title this is? Into Darkness?
I'm not even sure what the darkness they're referring to is.
It makes no sense, this title. Star Trek Into Darkness. It is such a silly title. I was thinking about that when I was watching.
I mean, darkness as in the dark ship, the dark war.
The bully ship. So, yeah, I don't like Kirk in this movie again. Him getting reprimanded, I was saying to myself, good, you should be. He should not be rewarded. And, of course, we're introduced to John Harrison, who has the magic blood, and then he blackmails this guy, saying, I'll save your dying daughter, which Craig mentioned earlier. If I give you this ring, and you go to the Section 31 archives in London, and drop this little ring into a water, and it blows everything up. So then, the Starfleet leaders of, I think, was it only the captains in the area, or is it just like the top brass for Starfleet, are then have to hold an emergency meeting at Starfleet headquarters so then John Harrison can go over there and shoot at all of them, and he kills Pike. And then he has a transwarp device that sends him to Kronos. So then Kirk says to Admiral Marcus, who is played by Peter Weller, who's known as RoboCop, and he says to him, let me and Spock go after him, reinstate me because I got demoted to commander, so we can go after him, but we can't really go there because Kronos is obviously in the neutral zone. So we can't go over there or start a war. So then they bring on these torpedoes for whatever reason, and then Scotty resigns because he's saying, rightfully, I don't know what's in these torpedoes. What are we doing? And then Kirk is like, get out. Well, he didn't say it like that. He said, sign the torpedoes or relieve you of your duty.
Do you accept my resignation or not?
I do!
Oh my god, it's just so exhausting. And then
Well, there's several things I want to stop there
okay,
before you
okay,
continue.
yeah.
One, there's no way the little ring would cause that kind of huge
Well,
explosion.
let's just give that a pass because yes,
I want to say because I know a little thing about that.
it is a silly idea.
Two, are there no defenses on Earth at all whatsoever?
For what?
For everything, like, is Starfleet not guarded? I know they're supposed to be the peace-loving Federation, but they still are capable of defending themselves. They fought several wars, so they are capable of defending themselves. Are there no Earth defenses? Because think of the last movie. There's no interplanetary ships protecting Earth. There's no Earth defenses. Any ship can just show up and destroy the
Yeah.
planet in seconds.
Remember in Star
Same thing
Trek 3 and 4, they have that giant base right outside of Earth where all the
Yeah.
ships are?
Are there no any ships patrolling Starfleet, the main hub of the Federation's? I mean, I guess Starfleet is more of a human thing, but still, there's nothing protect them. Some ship can just fly up and take out a bunch of admirals.
I guess so. What's your other
I
point?
I know it's a movie, but it's stupid. It makes everyone seem incompetent.
Well, they all are in this movie.
I know this is memed on a lot, but the fact that John Harrison can beam from Earth to Kronos is just
Yes.
ridiculous. I'm pretty sure it's I don't know how far it is, probably hundreds or thousands of light years away. That's a very, very far distance for them to just be beaming across the galaxy.
Well, I always liked too in TOS and TNG when they were at war, things would take days, sometimes weeks, hours to even get to one place to another. And obviously in the movie, you don't have that kind of I want to say downtime, but it made it more. It seemed like an actual journey because here it's like Star Wars where they're just zipping around everywhere instantaneously. They're going fast at whatever warp it is, but it still takes time to cover that distance.
Well, that and even when they're warping to Kronos, it takes them. I'm not even sure if it's like not even a few hours. Like they get there immediately to Kronos.
Yeah.
And even the Vengeance, the guy who apparently got from Starfleet to, I think it was Jupiter,
Yeah, it was
to
behind Jupiter's moon or by Jupiter.
like what, an hour? Because Scotty was able to board the ship as they were boarding, and they got there an hour later. There's no sense of these are large distances. They can't be even driving takes time, but these ships can, I guess, because it's fast and light, they can get there in seconds. Just
Remember
like
when
a
we
nut.
made fun of how large V'ger was? How
Yeah,
big was like 82 AU or how big is that?
that's
Something
huge.
ridiculous. And again, I knew beforehand because I had to look it up when I watched the first movie. It's an astronomical unit, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. And I believe they said Pluto because I looked it up when we did our first video. Pluto is 39 AU, and that is unimaginably huge. So Jupiter is probably, let's say, being generous, like 5. That is a huge distance.
I mean, it takes
Millions of miles.
takes light, I think, 12 minutes to get from the Earth to the sun.
Yeah, millions of miles that Scotty gets there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you know, it's like just hopping down the road to your local gas station.
Yeah, it is silly because it makes space seem really small, and all these planets are right next to each other.
Well, and it kind of goes into the opening too, where entire planets are reduced just to one village.
Well, that's
Where
like a
everything is
Star
just
Wars issue. Star Wars has been notorious for that.
this is more of a Star Wars movie than a Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And one more thing, you mentioned that Scotty resigns because obviously who would start loading unknown warheads onto your ship? And instead of replacing, I know it's because he's the main character, but instead of replacing anybody in engineering, he just gives Pavel Chekhov, the youngest guy in the ship, the red shirt. He's like, here, you're the new chief.
You're my new chief. Go put on the red shirt.
Aye, Captain.
I know it's nothing major, it's another stupid thing the movie does.
So then, when their ship drops out of warp, because we find out later that Admiral Marcus is doing some nefarious things to the Enterprise, they drop out of orbit sooner than expected. So then they have to go on a shuttle to Kronos, and then they're attacked by some Klingons. And then John Harrison just shoots and kills a bunch of Klingons. And then John Harrison, at the time, he does a very tired plot of villain gets caught on purpose, which was in The Dark Knight, Avengers, Skyfall, and then this was 2013, so this was after those movies. And then, infamously, very infamously, John Harrison reveals himself to be Khan,
My name is Khan.
which in the context of the movie means absolutely nothing to these characters. But Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi, RIP, they were snapping their fingers like, ooh, we got this. This is going to be so great. And it falls flat on its face because, again, when he says Khan, they should have said, okay. Yeah, we don't know what that means. You're Khan? Okay.
But I'm pretty sure Kirk would have recognized Khan Union Singh, the genetic terrorist who got kicked out of Earth. The real Kirk would have recognized.
Well, I don't even think they did his background in space seed. Kirk didn't know when he first met him who he was.
No, but then I realized, wait a minute, this is Khan Union Singh.
Yeah. And that's when Spock says from 1992 to 1996.
From 1992 through 1996, absolute ruler of more than a quarter of your world.
I guess
the point
this
is-
Khan didn't really do that, though. They mentioned how he is genetically superior. They did mention that.
So I want to rewind a little bit. You
Okay.
mentioned how they were parked at the edge of the neutral zone about to fire torpedoes.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Do you know how far those torpedoes would have to go to hit the Klingon homeworld?
Very
Several
far.
light years, yeah. And that's not going to get there immediately. Another inconsistency with how they don't understand how big space is.
It just looks cool, Craig, okay?
It's not even, it doesn't even look cool. That's the worst part. They do all this stuff, doesn't make sense. Their movies, everybody hates them. So I think he
Well,
did a good
you
job.
say that, Craig. You say everyone hates them, but this movie has pretty good reviews. Surprisingly, even when I first saw this too, and then again I saw this after Beyond, and I was like, oh, it was okay, I guess. I like the 2009 one more than this. But just so
No,
silly though.
right.
They think it's a mic drop where he says Khan, ooh,
My name is Khan.
but they don't know who he is, nor do they really care.
So it would have been nice if Kirk, that we know, is the history buff, would have probably recognized, or at least, wait a minute.
No, this Kirk
minute.
is a frat boy.
Oh, yeah, we saw him before we had the meeting with Pike.
Yeah, two women.
Two women, whoa.
Oh, we forgot to mention Admiral Marcus deliberately tells Kirk to use those torpedoes to just blow up Khan. Don't arrest him, don't contact him, just blow him up. So then, after speaking with Spock and deliberating, they decide to go down there and then arrest him. And they should have been very suspicious when he's like, they mentioned the torpedoes, and then he just says, okay, arrest me. But they're kind of just, they just say, okay.
Yeah, they're dumb.
And then we find out that, well, there's so much to unpack because there's also the infamous scene where Carol Marcus is in the movie. She's the daughter of Admiral Marcus, and obviously it's Carol Marcus from Star Trek 2. And then she wants to go inspect torpedoes. She shanghais her way into the Enterprise under a false name. And then long story short, she's about to go open up one of these torpedoes because that's like her background is weapon design or something. I don't know. She goes with Bones to open it up, but before she can do that, Craig, she says, I gotta change. And then Kirk, being the frat boy creep he is, as she's changing, he turns around and there's just like this awkward kind of low angle shot of her in her bra and underwear. And
In
it's-
Kirk's defense, she decided to get.
she did do that in front of Kirk, but I just
In
can't
his
imagine
defense.
filming that for the actors. That's just so like awkward.
Yeah, you gotta take your clothes off.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
scene.
Chris Pine has to like be there and look around, and
Creep on you. Well, the whole set's
Yeah.
creeping on her. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think that counts as a closed set because closed set is nudity and like other things. So I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't think so, but I don't know enough.
It's just a very weird scene. And yeah, she does change in front of Kirk, but Kirk didn't have to. Kirk just looks around before she says, like, yeah, I'm done changing. You can look now.
It is weird, but it's funny. I think the actress didn't really see what the big deal was.
Yeah,
Of
I
all
know.
of all the irony of it.
Yeah, I know. She doesn't care. But in the it's just so weird. It's just like
Oh,
an
it is
awkward-
weird.
It's an awkward thing.
I just think it's funny that the actress didn't really care.
Yeah,
but
she's like, oh, whatever.
I thought you were going to talk about the other infamous scene where when they're going down to Kronos, for some reason, all of a sudden, Uhura's like, you know what, we got to have a fight about our relationship while we're going
Oh,
down
yeah,
there."
yeah.
And
that's
even
pretty
Kirk was
awkward,
like, do you
too.
really have to do this right now?
Lieutenant, I would prefer to discuss this in private.
You prefer not to discuss this at all. That's what you prefer.
Are you really going to do this right now?
Well, that's
By the way,
another
Spock,
thing
she's
I
right.
just despise in this movie is the relationship with Spock and Uhura because, again, they don't have any kind of chemistry in a traditional sense, and the only reason why she likes him is because she pities him. She feels bad that his whole race essentially got wiped out.
And we never really see them be a couple. There's no moments where, I don't know, they're holding hands or I know it's not really the appropriate place for that kind of relationship, but they don't really see anything like them being a couple. It's always them arguing.
Yeah.
Spock, you're too robotic. Spock, I hate you.
Spock, you're about to just willingly sacrifice yourself and die.
How's anything that makes me feel?
No, Spock doesn't care. Their relationship just bogs down the movie. And because Uhura is more featured, we sideline Bones, who again is good, but he is so sidelined in this movie.
Well, Colin, he does
Oh!
discover the magic super blood. so
Yes,
there's
I
the-
know that. Okay, so there's something that this movie brings up that doesn't really lead to anywhere. So there's a couple times where McCoy tells Kirk that he has to get checked out by the sick bay.
Points for that.
Jim, calm down.
I'm not going to take.
Your vitals are way off. Report to the med bay.
Kirk, your thing is spiking again, and nothing happens. And in an editorial sense, if that has no bearing on the plot, you remove that. Because it's another thread that they're trying to do, and then it leads to absolutely nothing. Again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal, but they
amateurish.
mention it a bunch of times, and then nothing happens. It is amateurish, yeah. Want to continue with the plot, Craig, for me?
I think we stopped off where, yeah, Bones got his arm stuck in the torpedo because
Yes.
apparently Carol Marcus going from, I don't even know what you described what she was doing, but the Genesis device, which was not weapons making versus being a weapons expert, it's a complete 180. Whatever. It's
very
after
strange.
Carol Marcus, whatever.
She's friends with Christine Chapel, they mentioned.
I did remember that,
Yeah.
but I'm surprised they even knew who that was.
I'm a friend of Christine Chapel's.
Christine, yes, how is she?
She transferred to the Outer Frontier to be a nurse.
But yes, after they get the torpedo, they discover there's people inside of it because as a way to smuggle people,
Put
he
them
puts
in
them in the torpedo.
live torpedoes.
But that doesn't make any sense because torpedoes need either that compartment would usually be the fuel and the tip would be the warhead. So I don't know how those torpedoes would even fly. You remove the entire fuel
Craig,
compartment from the torpedo.
They clearly did not think about that.
I mean, you ever seen what's in a rocket? A lot of that inside of it is fuel. Whether
Craig,
it's liquid or solid.
Craig, they don't care.
I'm just saying, it's so stupid. I don't know why they do these things. We're like, oh, it's really smart. He smuggled them in the torpedo.
Torpedoes. Yeah.
Also, if they're cryogenically frozen, wouldn't the torpedo feel really cold?
Yeah, shouldn't that be the big tip off?
Like, that's weird. Why are these the airs like
it's metal
condensing
too.
around
When they feel that?
Yeah, metal's a good conductor. So yeah, they'd feel the cold coming off it, or eventually, because assuming something has to power these torpedoes, you think it'd run out of power or stop cooling the people.
They don't care, Craig. Let's just move on with the torpedoes. So then, when they're at its base, they're sort of stranded because they don't really know what's going on with the Enterprise. Meanwhile, when they interrogate Khan gives them coordinates, and then Kirk calls Scotty to say, hey, I don't know what these coordinates mean. Maybe go check on it. I know you're mad at me. Miss you, boo. And then Scotty goes, and then we find out that he goes to the bully ship, which is by Saturn. And then when they're still parked at sea, or not at sea, when they're still parked out there, the bully ship, which is called the USS Vengeance, which we have made fun of so many times on this program. It's so silly. Well, I call it the bully ship because it's like the bully is here now, the big bad bully, and it's ridiculously large in size. And they even make a sentence. They say they need a small crew. They don't need a full crew for this thing. It's a very limited crew.
And I've told you this several times, but I'll tell you once again for our audience. And the Starfleet did eventually design a warship. It's called the USS Defiant.
Yeah, it's
and
small.
The whole point, it was supposed to be small with a big engine, or not a big engine, but a big enough engine to power the ship. It's not as fast, but it's supposed to be really powerful with a lot of phaser cannons and tanks. Not tanks, but phaser cannons and lots of torpedoes. But it's small because it's a lot less to hit, and the shield powering it it's not as big. It's not covering a big enough area, so it can be stronger. But that's the point. And instead of having the biggest ship, they have a small ship that can do just as much damage, or if not more damage. Well, who cares about that? Who cares about the logic of it?
Well,
Let's have the big ship that's black.
That's a real world thing too. The fighter jets are all small. You don't see a giant shield-like carrier, the helicarrier from S.H.I.E.L.D. You don't see that running around and shooting at things. You have the jets. And plus, the Enterprise is an exploration vessel. That thing is just ridiculously... I don't even know canonically how large it is, because I know the Kelvin Enterprise is about the same size as the Enterprise D, which is about 2,200 feet long.
Jeez.
From the tip of the nacelles all the way to the tip of the saucer. So this thing must be like 5,000 feet long, like a mile long.
And when you saw Scotty running across the Vengeance, he probably has to run like a mile, or not a mile, but he has to run like sprinting.
And the Enterprise from TOS is about 950 feet long. And this thing is 2,200, the Kelvin one. This thing is ridiculous, the Vengeance. It's ridiculous how large it is. And we talked about in Star Trek 2, because this movie rips it off so much, is Khan bests Kirk with an inferior ship. He bests him with the Reliant as he he doesn't sneak attack him, he surprise attacks him, and he knows where to target the Enterprise. This is like, well, yeah, the bully ship is now here, and it's going to shoot and kill us because it's just so much larger.
And it's funny that the ship is black as opposed to any other color. Most ships, I guess, are green. Romulan ships are green. Klingon ships are green. Not that the color really matters, because when you're doing a space battle, visibility doesn't really matter. You're using a million sensors to see where you are.
Yeah.
And when you cloak, your color doesn't matter. So the fact that they have a black ship, is just to say, hey, we're the bad guy ship.
Yeah, and all the Starfleet ones, for the most part, are a white, grayish, and the Starfleet logo is always red. There's some blue on there. None of them are black.
I can't think of a single ship that...
Not even not Reliant. What's
the Defiant.
Defiant. That's like dark grayish. That's gray.
But it's not so much different from the other ships. Like, again, the ship's
Yeah.
usually white or a gray. That's more of a dark gray.
This thing is
But
it's large and it's all black, and it has blue accents.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Are there any ships that weren't a brightish color from all the other shows? Yeah, I don't really think so.
The NX was like a silver, dark gray.
Or the Cardassian ships, I think they were like orange, right?
I don't remember. The Bohr cube was even brighter than this. But yeah, it's so ridiculous, and Admiral Marcus reveals his plan that, well, I think he reveals it a little bit later.
Dead or alive, Khan, you're coming with me.
Essentially, your move, creep. So they shoot at the Enterprise, and a bunch of nonsense happens. They get on. So there's this quote-unquote exciting action sequence where Kirk has to team up with Khan, and they have to shoot across this asteroid belt, kind of, to get to the Vengeance, because Scotty, since he's on that ship, he turns off all the weapons. So they got to get in there, and then they're going to go to the bridge to apprehend and arrest Admiral Marcus. And that's when he reveals his plan, where he wanted to get his war. He's that typical bad guy general where he doesn't know anything but war, and that's all he wants. It's so tiresome. That's what we already got that in Star Trek. We got that with Star Trek 6.
Again, the context of that was different, where they were already at each other's throats, and this was stopping the hostilities. This is restarting
this is just
creating
provoking
hostilities
and creating war. Well, my point was, I hope I implied that it was better done in Star Trek 6.
Well, of course.
Well, yeah. Well, he talks about how he wants to restart the war and that they need to build more warships like his ridiculous Vengeance.
Two things. One, there was almost a nice scene where you have Kirk trying to spare his crew, saying, please, there's flight orders, please spare them. And of course, beat the bad guy that he is, he says, actually, I was going to kill all of you anyway.
But if it's any consolation, I was never going to spare your crew.
Especially if you want to have a war with these people, you think you would spare your own army, your soldiers, as opposed to just killing them wanton destruction. And the other thing is that the Federation and the Klingon have fought several wars, and I'm pretty, depending on the timeline has went, I think they've fought a few wars before the movie even started. So it's not like fighting with the Klingons was anything new at this point. Like, oh, war is coming. War already did come. Like, you guys are already fighting each other already. Why do you think there's a neutral zone?
They don't know this, Craig.
We know too much, and that's why it's frustrating to watch. It's one thing to, you missed a little reference here and there, you missed a tiny inaccuracy, but these are huge gaping holes in the logic of the universe and even other movies. You can't just dismiss it and say that, oh, well, it's just a minor thing. Like, these are huge plot holes or huge inconsistencies with the lore of the Star Trek universe.
I agree. So after they stun Khan, because Kirk says beforehand to Scotty, stun Khan. Khan wakes up from his stun, and then he breaks Carol's leg, and then he kills Admiral Marcus. He holds Kirk hostage. So then Spock does a switcheroo with the torpedoes, where he says, okay, you know what? I completely
Yes,
forgot.
the cameo.
The most shameless thing in the movie is the cameo with Leonard Nimoy, where he said, well, first off, it looks like they just shot it in a corner of his apartment or house or whatever.
Over Zoom.
Yeah. He says, Mr. Spock, what do you know of a Khan? And then Spock Prime says he's the most dangerous villain the Enterprise has ever come across.
Khan Noonien Singh is the most dangerous adversary the Enterprise ever faced.
Which, after seeing TOS and the other movies, I don't think that's true. I think the whale
remember
probe...
when they fought Apollo?
Well, that too. I think the whale probe was more dangerous than Khan. He should have said a most personal, maybe it was the most personal villain. I can understand, but just outright saying the most dangerous is disingenuous and not true.
Again, they fought Apollo. I'm pretty sure Spock would be aware of Q because he's appeared in a few TNG episodes, so they know of Q now. Q is more dangerous than...
Well, he's like an omnipotent being.
I know, but the most dangerous thing he's ever encountered. I don't think Khan Noonien Singh is the most dangerous person. Like I said, the probes, V'ger and the whale probe.
Yeah. Khan's like a schmuck compared to V'ger and the whale probe. The whale probe would have destroyed the world, destroyed Earth.
Khan just wanted revenge on Kirk personally. That was about it.
And yeah,
they fought the least dangerous.
Apollo and TOS. There's so many TOS villains that essentially, if I can remember correctly, Kirk would have to kind of best them with his smarts, not physically. So then the adversary would be like, all right, whatever, leave. Like, get out of here. But if those beings wanted to destroy the Enterprise crew in TOS, they easily could have. Remember, Kirk beat Khan with a pipe in Space Seed.
I know he's superhuman, but he's not Captain America. He's not some superhero.
He's not Superman. You try hitting him with a lead pipe and the pipe would break. Kirk beats him up in Space Seed.
Well, yeah, even in The Wrath of Khan, he never did anything that crazy or those crazy feats of strength. He lifted some heavy metal once. He picked up check off with one hand, which sure,
Which
that's
is pretty
incredibly strong.
Yeah.
It is, yes, but it's not, oh my God, this guy's Captain America, Superman, where he's gonna crush my skull.
Yeah, well, this Khan is more of like a superhero. Well, the whole point of that scene was just to get a shameless cameo from the late Leonard Nimoy. And what he's just said, again, having seen TOS, and we rewatched all the movies for TOS, it's just not true that he's the most dangerous adversary the Enterprise has ever faced. It's just not true.
Well, it's also funny he calls, I will not interfere with their destiny.
Yeah, let me tell you about Khan. Even though that Khan is so much more different than this Khan, because again, as you said, not even them looking different, their whole plans are different. This Khan wants his crew, and he wants to do, I don't even know what he wants to do, honestly, in this movie. He's kind of, is he really even a villain? He's more like a plot device, kind of. What does Khan really want aside from his crew?
Well, I was gonna mention that too. Does he even care about his crew? Because we know in Wrath of Khan how many crew members were dying trying to get revenge on Kirk.
Well,
He doesn't care about his crew that much.
One of his crewmen said to him, "What do we care about Kirk? We have the Genesis, we have a ship, we can go wherever we want." But the whole thing with that movie, and I know you know this, is that Khan wanted Kirk because Kirk bested him. That's all he wanted.
He couldn't let it go.
Yeah. He's so egotistical that he is so fractured that Kirk beat him. That is the essence of Khan. He's like flamboyant a little bit, but he's egotistical.
Chubby William Shatner beat me, and I can't have that.
Well, he wasn't chubby back then. Shatner, he wasn't wearing his girdle in some of the TOS episodes. He was in pretty good shape for the time.
I know. It's just funny.
This guy with the toupee beat me. That's the whole essence of Khan. In this movie, I know there's a lot of controversy because people didn't like that they used Khan, and really this could have been any kind of guy. I know the crew was in Space Seed, the 72 people, but they weren't in torpedoes. If I remember correctly, they were just kind of laying around in limbo.
They weren't some sort of cryosleep for deep space.
They were, but they weren't physically put in torpedoes. The crew were there, is what I'm saying.
Well, that goes to my point before. How do the torpedoes even work if you replace the entire center of the fuel cryogenically frozen people?
I know because they're hacks. JJ Abrams, Roberto Rossi, and Kurtzman. I know they're hacks, but this could have been a great opportunity to create a new villain, which I guess they got discouraged after Nero because they butchered that so terribly with Nero. They wanted to do Khan, who is probably the most famous Star Trek villain that normies would know. Like, oh yeah, Khan. Kirk screams Khan. Yeah, I know that guy. Khan! But he bears, not even physically, but he just bears no resemblance to that character of Khan from the movie or Space Seed. So that always begs the question of why even bother doing it in the first place if you're not going to at least take those background elements and if you're going to do it, be shameless and just do it.
If they wanted to be really shameless,
yeah,
they could have just had them fight the Borg or some other popular villain. I don't think they'd fight the Cardassians. But
well,
why not fight the Borg at that
this
point?
Is a TOS timeline. Would they even dare to do the Borg?
But you said they're being shameless. They didn't fight Khan. Obviously, things changed with Khan. They were never going to find him. Why not have the Borg at that point? If you're going to be shameless, at least try to have that be a little more interesting.
I guess so, yeah. That'd be mixing things up a little bit, having this crew and encounter the Borg.
I know the Borg is overused, but I'd prefer them because the Borg at least can keep things more interesting as a villain because it's not one person, it's the collective, versus rehashing Khan in every single way and make it worse.
Yeah, it's so silly, that cameo, and it's just wrong, and the nostalgia shamelessness is just off the charts.
Oh, Khan? He's not a big deal. You need to go back in time right now and get some whales.
Save those whales on Earth.
Whatever you do, clone them, get some blue whales, get them before that probe destroys the planet.
Yeah. Imagine Prime Spock just tells them about everything.
Oh, and by the way, if you're worried about the Earth Klingon War, the Federation Klingon War, don't worry, Praxis going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
They can't keep up the war forever.
2293, Praxis will be destroyed, and then there will finally be peace. Don't trust General Chang. He's behind this assassination of Chancellor Gorkin. Here's his address. He doxes him.
Here's his IPv8 address, whatever it is in the future.
Yeah, here's his warp MAC address.
Well, they have the warp theory where they can transfer things across the galaxy. Just
send
a pipe bomb through the warp.
Oh my god! But I hate that. Where
are you cutting that?
I might keep that. You're sick. But what was I going to say? Yeah, that's so silly because they just make space kind of irrelevant and they can warp across everywhere at will. But
because even in Deep Space Nine or TNG, you could take them weeks to get somewhere. The whole show Voyager,
sometimes months.
For Voyager, they said without any shortcuts, it's going to take us 70 years to get back home.
Space seems like it's a playground and everything is close to each other in these movies.
Yeah, you could run to everything.
So with Prime Spock, yeah, he tells him about how dangerous it is. So then young Spock, he negotiates with Khan, and then he takes the Khan's people out of the torpedoes, and then he beams it aboard the transporter of the Vengeance, and he blows it up, and then the Vengeance crash lands and causes so much damage to San Francisco in the future, that poor homeless population, and it blows everything up. And then the Enterprise is falling, and of course, the shameless trio strikes again, and Kirk now has to go and kind of realign the warp core, which at face value, if this is the first Star Trek movie you saw, you'd think it'd be a cool scene. But the motion behind Star Trek 2 is so much more well done. And you sympathize when Kirk is seeing Spock die in that movie because, again, they had all their friendship for, at that point, it was 1982. So almost 20 years since 1966, Kirk and Spock have been friends. And you really felt that when Spock logically just got up unannounced and saved the ship.
Well, that was the best part about it. He didn't make this big emotional moment. He realized what was going on. Wasn't going to argue, wasn't going to tell anybody, but he knew he had to do it.
Yes. And we forgot to mention, too, Spock says very stupidly in the beginning, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Or the one. He didn't say that, though. Or the one. I'm surprised, honestly, because they're so shameless, I'm surprised Kirk didn't say that to him.
Or Michael Burnham.
In this movie. Oh yeah, where's Michael Burnham in this? But
yeah, we're Spock's secret adopted sister who is the best at everything.
So then Kirk dies, and then Spock screams Khan. Very silly. And, God, what else? So then Kirk dies, right? And McCoy just randomly tests Khan's blood on a Tribble, which they just have Tribbles roaming around. I guess just one, because it died. Which is very dangerous, because all it takes is one from Trouble and Tribbles, Craig. But he tests his blood on the Tribble, and then the Tribble's alive, so then McCoy says to Spock, who's going down to chase after Khan because he's angry, he wants to punch something. He says, bring Khan back alive! And then they chase him, they beat up Khan, Spock breaks his arm, Uhura has to stop Spock from killing him, and then they bring back Kirk. Now there is so much wrong, and there's so much to unpack in that 10-minute sequence, because one, with Khan, with his super blood at least, they make death meaningless in these movies. And I'm glad they kind of glanced over that looking forward. But you just set yourself
the
up
consequences
for such silly things. You could bring anyone back. I mean, I guess if someone's in pieces, I guess you can't bring him back. But if someone dies, oh, here's Khan's super blood. It'd be funny if they have Khan hooked up to a machine, just always taking his blood from him.
Honestly, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, they should honestly just give that to all hospitals. Just keep siphoning his blood and selling it.
I know you mentioned making death meaningless, and they never really talked about this all that much, but when they transport somebody, they usually have like a copy in the transport. They kind of move you, make a copy, and then put you back together. There have been episodes where they could make copies of people, and you wonder like, oh, so can someone really die? Could you make a copy of them in the transporter and just keep cloning that person?
Oh.
There's nothing really stopping them.
Yeah, it's true.
Granted, they've never really tried to go delve into that, probably realizing they're opening a huge can of worms and just completely avoiding the subject altogether. But
yeah,
theoretically, based on the information from the show, you could. But they knew enough not to open that can of worms versus this, where just openly reviving people who are long dead.
Well, also, the biggest folly of this whole sequence is, yes, not only is it terrible that Khan's blood can bring people back to life, but Kirk dies, and then I think it's literally 10 or 12 minutes he comes back. So that just ruins all the emotions, because again, in Star Trek 2, Spock actually died. Spock from TOS to Star Trek 2 is gone forever. What we have is the Genesis pod that created a new Spock that rapidly aged. And then, what was it called? Katra? McCoy had to put Spock's Katra into the new Spock body. So TOS Spock is dead still. He's gone. It's a new Spock. And at the end of the movie, Spock was dead. There was no really, I mean, they had that tease at the end, but the movie ended with him dead. And here, Kirk dies and it comes back 10 minutes later. Such terrible structure, and it gets rid of all the emotion that anyone might have had, question mark. I don't think anyone really knew that Kirk died. It wasn't a shock. It'd be very silly knowing that they signed a 3-picture deal and that Kirk dies in number 2. It's very silly.
And it's not even, it was Captain Kirk. If they had Bones, maybe you could have faked people out killing Bones, or Sulu, or check off, but you're not going to kill Captain Kirk. You're not going to kill Spock. Again, not that they would kill these characters. I just think if you're going to even try to give the illusion of someone dying, you should pick a lesser popular character. At least trick the audience a little bit longer.
Not even that, too. You have to commit. This movie doesn't commit. If you're going to kill someone, well, I know that, but if you're going to kill somebody, you have to commit. And of course, obviously, this came out in 2013. How could we forget Craig in 2019? I remember distinctly in Star Wars Episode 9 where they're hyping up that C-3PO is going to get his memory wiped, and he was just saying goodbye to a room of strangers who he mistakenly called his friends. And then they were really mentioning how he's going to lose his memory, and then nothing happens to him. So JJ Abrams loves to build up the idea of someone dying, but then he doesn't go through with it. And then you're kind of just left with this feeling of, well, what was the point of that? Like, nothing came of this. And that's what they did with Kirk in this. This is the precursor.
And I know people are going to say, yes, you're correct in all of this, but what about Kirk's character arc? Well, that is also garbage.
Did he have one?
Well, people might say he was learning to be responsible to put his crew before him, but I don't think you need to kill him because he did that before all this happened. He realized that the danger he put them in. I know he didn't learn much in the first movie. He barely learns anything in this movie. He does try to save his crew before Admiral Marcus tries to annihilate them.
Yeah.
He gets betrayed by his own from the Federation, which I don't really think that's entirely a great lesson to be learned. Because even then, the danger he put them in was just following orders that, again, some bad guy put them into. Can you really learn your lesson when some evil guy is trying to sabotage and murder you?
I don't think Kirk really has an arc in this movie.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, they're trying to have me more responsible, but how they're going about it is just very poorly thought out.
Of course, as anyone knows, when you're trying to do a correct character arc, there always has to be some kind of event or a consequence that can reshape them into their correct arc. That doesn't really... What kind of consequence does Kirk face in this movie? Or a consequence that changes him? Is the consequence that he almost got annihilated by Admiral Marcus? I don't know. What does Kirk really learn? Of course, in Star Trek 2, Kirk is... his whole arc was avoiding kind of age and even death. That was the whole point of Star Trek 2. And then Kirk finally learns and faces that at the end. But this movie doesn't really have anything for Kirk. And we mentioned it earlier, I don't even think Khan's, like, what is Khan's motivation aside from the torpedoes? Well, that's my point. That's a weak and terrible villain. If there should always be two wants we learned in school when writing. There's the internal want and the outward want. So an outward want is like an objective. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to get more my torpedoes with my crew members. But then there's the internal want. What do they really want? And it could be anything from, I want to get this feeling of commanding again or something. I don't know. But there should always be two wants when you're trying to do correct character arcs. And Khan and Kirk have nothing.
Don't forget about Spock.
Spock doesn't
He also has nothing.
He just punches and I guess... If anything, I think Spock learns a little bit more than Kirk. Because at least he learns, like, all right, I know Kirk's kind of captain style. I will try to be more human with him and be on the same page with him. I guess Spock learns more.
Try to be better with my girlfriend, I guess.
Oh, he clearly doesn't care about Uhura. I guess he learns more than Kirk does.
I'm not disagreeing. I just think the movie is just really bad.
Well,
and I know we're wasting our time.
Didn't we talk about this in 2009 one, Craig, where we said JJ Abrams is really good at kind of I shouldn't say good, but his whole thing is emotion over kind of logical plot, right? Where he just wants feelings to happen, even if it doesn't make sense when said feelings happen. He just wants, I want sad scene here, I want low point here, I want crying here, but nothing can connect really, nothing makes sense.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with Star Trek 2009. I think I take it back. I think 2009 is better than this, because this is just shameless. It's so silly. I don't know.
I just had a feeling the more we talked about it, I feel like you're going to hate this one more.
Yeah, because I just was so upset with Nero and how incredibly stupid he was. But Khan doesn't really have a motive. Not motive. He doesn't really have his goal keeps changing. Because he was originally a terrorist, and then he wants to protect his crew, and then he wants to kill Admiral Marcus, and then he wants to kill Kirk, and it just keeps changing.
And none of it's good. It's not like, okay, it's changing for the better. No, it's all trash.
He's not like Khan from Star Trek 2, where, again, he's egotistical and he's super driven by revenge. In this one, he's more of like, I kind of want my revenge, but I want to save my crew. And then I waver, and then my crew doesn't matter here, and then they do. How did blowing up Section 31 in London, help his crew? Not really.
He wanted to, well, that was the whole meeting to get the admirals together, which again leads me to my point. Why is everything so poorly defended?
But that's assuming that they wanted them to go after him and then load said ship going after him with the torpedoes.
I feel like I know we're putting a lot more thought into it than they did.
Imagine if they didn't even go after him. They're like, yeah, he is in Kronos. Logically, Starfleet would say we can't get him because he is in the neutral zone. We're not crossing that. And it's one.
He's in Klingon territory.
Well, yeah, he's in the Klingon territory. Exactly. Even worse. It's one guy. We know who he is. It's one guy hiding there. Whatever. It's a terrible that these people died, but we can't get him. There's nothing I can do. Rules are rules.
There's nothing I can do. Rules are rules. You don't have enough players.
It could have portrayed it differently too, where we have to get him because if he starts doing terror attacks on Kronos, he's going to start a war, so we have to get him.
Right, because if he was affiliating with Starfleet, let's say.
That could have been a better motivation to want to go after him. Not because we want to kill him and silence him, but we can't let this guy going around doing acts of terror in the name of the Federation or even being a human, because the Klingons won't differentiate the two. So we have to get him.
Before we wrap it up, I have a question. What if Kirk didn't want to go after Khan? Obviously, I know he was close with Pike, if you can call it that, and he wanted to get revenge for Pike. But what if some other commander stepped up and said, Captain Pike, I served under him, I want to go after him? Would they still put the torpedoes on that ship and then blow up where Khan was?
And disable their warp core?
And disable the warp core? Or was Admiral Marcus going to do that himself until Kirk? My question is, was Admiral Marcus always setting up a ship to fail? Or was he actually going to go do it himself until Kirk stepped up and said something? Or was he going to have Pike do it originally until Pike died? So
you're making good points, and I can almost guarantee they did not think of this scenario. It sounds like his plan was to get Kirk all along to do it. From what I'm understanding from the movie, that's what the impression I'm getting. It was Pike's plan to get Kirk all along to go out there and command the Enterprise. Because it didn't take much to twist his arm.
Because Kirk got demoted.
I'm not saying it makes sense, but that's the impression I get.
Okay.
Because again, it didn't take much to twist his arm and say, "Give me back the chair, and I'll go kill that guy."
That is true, I guess. Interesting.
Our little review probably put more thought into the logic of the movie than those three hacks did for months on end.
Well, just nothing really makes sense. Just like the first one. Motivation is weak. Characters do stupid things. They say stupid things.
They yell. They run.
They punch. They're shameless rip-offs from better movie. I mean, it's bold of them to do Khan, but they just swung and missed entirely. Do you have anything else?
The good news is that they didn't get a third crack at Star Trek.
Well, this is a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
All emotion over logic. Do you have anything else, Craig? Anything else you want to point out or criticize?
Well, like I said, this is definitely what started their Section 31 obsession.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alex Kurtzman loves Section 31 for whatever reason. And also, this started the Super Blood in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I don't think I know how blood works either, but let's just not. I'm not a.
Well, there's blood types.
Biology guy.
I think we talked about that in our Dracula review, how at the time, how silly it was to do blood transfusions. But obviously at the time, Bram Stoker didn't know that. I don't think they knew about in 1897 about different blood types.
You can always excuse that.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, knowing what we know now and reading that, I'm like, oh my God, that's so dangerous. But they didn't know at the time.
But in this case, they do know about this, and now that they choose to ignore it, but I think it's giving too much credit. I don't think they know, and I don't think they care to know.
Yeah, they just got to get the plot going. They got to have things happen. So yeah, I think this is a lot worse than Star Trek 2009. For the longest time, before I saw TOS and even some of TNG, I always thought 2009 one was a solid movie. Obviously, I think Beyond's the best of the Kelvin movies. I always thought 2009 was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was okay. But even I knew that this one back then was not good. I could even tell. Not even seeing Star Trek, but just on a movie level.
And I know you're saying this got good reviews, but I refuse to believe people watch this and like it.
I don't know how. I'm looking at IMDb.
I can't believe it.
A 7.7, an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 72 on Metacritic. It is insane how this movie got good reviews.
To believe it, Colin. You can tell me this, but I will not say.
I'm with you.
You show me a 7, I see a 2.
I don't understand how it got good reviews. I really don't. 84%. I mean, the first one got a 94, I think. So I mean, I don't know how, but
I
that
don't
one
think you've
was at
seen the
least.
episode where Picard goes, "There are four lights." Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have. Is that season
Well,
3?
I think it's 5.
Oh,
Well,
whatever.
anyway, the point is that they're saying that we got a 90% score, trying to brainwash me. I'm saying they're not. It's not 90%. It's a 20%. I will not give in to the brainwashing.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't understand honestly how it got this high of review.
I mean, isn't it higher than Star Trek Beyond?
It is. Oh no, this one isn't. The 2009
Oh.
one's higher, but this one isn't.
I was about to say, oh boy.
I don't think I have anything else to say, Craig. I think we got all of our points across about how nonsensical this movie is and how nothing really makes sense. Characters are weak. Kirk doesn't learn anything. Kirk is kind of a scumbag. Its motivation is always flip-flopping, kind of. Does he want revenge? Okay, he wants revenge, but now he wants to save his crew. But he still wants revenge. Now he wants revenge on Kirk. Very poor storytelling. And I can guarantee you, in any kind of film class, they're not using this script as any kind of example other than what not to do. I can guarantee that.
But he does have his TED Talks where he gets to talk about his mystery box nonsense.
Oh my god. Well, Craig, do you have any other kind of final thoughts for Star Trek Into Darkness?
No, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's... so far, in all the Star Trek movies we've seen, this is the most offensive one. It is the worst. Because 1, it's not a Star Trek movie. 2, they fundamentally don't understand what makes Star Trek Star Trek. 3, this is a Fast and Furious movie. And 4, the characters are despicable. They don't represent any kind of characterizations of the beloved characters. I don't like this movie. I don't think I'll ever like it. And it is the worst Star Trek movie we have talked about so far.
What a nice way to end the review.
Yes. I don't like it. It's bad. And JJ Abrams, I hope you stop making movies. Which, to be fair, I don't think he's actually directed a movie since episode 9.
I want him to stop making movies. I want him to stop producing movies. I want him to write anything. I want him out of Hollywood. I'm not joking.
Go retire, JJ Abrams.
Yes, please retire. We cannot suffer more. And get his cronies to retire, too. We don't want them infecting other properties.
Yeah, Alex Kurtzman's got to go, too. He's got to retire.
Please. Please!
Hopefully, if Star Trek Starfleet Academy keeps doing bad, hopefully they'll give him the boot, but whoever knows. With all that being said, though, Craig, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
We will see you next time when we review Star Trek Beyond.
My name is Khan.